Good afternoon. This is Mr. Walker here, and coming at you with the 2.4 code practice number 2. So, here's what's happening with this. You need to write a program that accepts a number as an input and prints just the decimal portion of that number. Your program should work if a negative number is inputted by the user. So, let's just analyze this first part here before we even get into all this. You are needing to write a program that enters a number as an input. So we are inputting a number, and it is going to give me just the decimal portion. Whenever we're seeing the decimal portion pop up, that means that somewhere in our program we are involving the float command. Now, our program should also work if a negative number is inputted by the user. What they mean by this, you'll notice a little bit in your example. So in this example, they give us enter a number and they put 15.789. The output for this is 0.789. What they're telling you by this second sentence here is that if we put a negative number, let's say negative 15.789, we should only get the decimal portion of this as we normally see this here. We should not be getting any negative answers for this, okay? So we want to be able to get just the regular answer that we are seeing right here. Now, your answer shouldn't have any negatives, and by that, me saying that more than once, this means that we're going to be using the absolute value function somewhere in here. Now, these hints here, they tell you to use both the integer and float commands in your program. Make sure that any number that the user inputs is stored as a float. So that lets you know one thing. Your input involves the float command. You need to use at least two variables in your program. One that stores the original value by the user and one that represents the integer command. So far these first three hints have given you a lot of information. They're telling you to use both the integer and float, and they're telling you where these go. First variable that you're going to have is for this input, and this is going to involve the float command. The second variable you are inputting in is just giving me the integer version of whatever you inputted. After that, they tell you you can subtract these from each other to get the decimal portion remaining. And then don't forget that your program should print out the decimal portion at the end. So, your program should be able to work for any given, decimal that you put in there. So sorry about that. Let's take a look at this. We know that we're already going to have to use the absolute value function in here because they really specified in the beginning this should work for a negative number. So that means that we should be able to get an answer, even if it's negative. So to start off, you want to put out the import math module. This will make it so when we put in that absolute value function, you'll be able to find it. Now I'm going to give you the first three lines here, but you're going to have to be able to figure out those next ones, okay? So this is the first one, import math. We got next two variables we're going to put in. One's for A, another one we're going to put as B. All right, so A equals B equals. A is going to be our input that we have set up here. So let's copy that over. We're going to write this up. So the first one is going to have the float command. So we have float, then we're going to put input, and then inside of the parentheses, we put in the enter a number. Now, our second variable here is just asking for the integer value of our previous input. So we're going to put out the word int, and then we're going to put A here in the parenthesis. This is going to give us what the integer is for A. Now, I've given you 3 out of the 4 hints. You need to be able to write the rest of the program so that it subtracts these and it gives you a positive answer at the end. So you should be able to subtract in order to get this positive answer at the end. So that means that you have at least 2 more lines that you should be able to write up for this. I'm saying at least because you could possibly write it with less. So I'll leave you guys to that. If you need me to check it, feel free to email me. Catch you later on the next one.